Everyone, we'll just call the meeting to order. Just start with the whakatauki, please. So, stand just quickly and walk. So, as always, I'm Kev, Whakaronga. Okay, onwards and upwards. Thank you, team. Welcome, everyone. I've got apologies from, firstly, Simon. I see Simon's on Zoom. So, I've got an apology from Councillors Payne, McCrosty, Mackie. I'm happy to move it. Seconded, please, Councillor Phelps. All those in favour? Aye. Those against, thank you. Declarations of interest. Has anyone got a declaration of interest? Late or urgent items. I've got a couple of them. So firstly, I want to move item 3 or item 2, but it's item 3, Kelso Settlement Bridge, to the very first of the public excluded, please. And I'm doing it for the reasoning that there is sensitive financial information there. It will be covered for the same reasoning as the other 2. But I need someone, hold on, I've got 2 things to move. So I've got to move item on the Kelso Settlement Bridge to the first of the public excluded. And then I've also got to get the approval for responses to submitters to be item number 15. So it'll be the last one after documents for consent and seal.
We just slightly amend that first one and just put it as the last item in this agenda because it's public, and then we'll do the resolution to move to public excluded, which is a separate item that Julie's got for us because we'll need to do that for that item. We can do it at that point, so it stays in public until you do the resolution to public excluded. But if you move it to the last item, that's what we want you to do. Then it covers what you're looking for.
With that change, this is a technicality, so we're going to take it for what it is in public. Now we're going to move it into non-public, and we'll do all that after this one that goes in just before documents for consent and seal. Plain as mud. Councillor Herman.
Happy to move.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Graham. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? No one from public forum? Right, yeah, we've got a notice of motion. Rarity for the district, but we've got the notice of motion that you'll see there. Do you wish to comment before?
No, other than Your Worship, we received the notice of motion. It was valid. It's in the order paper, and the original paper that was written is attached as well. So council has before it all of the original information from the first decision, plus the notice of motion information. So from a staff perspective, the information is before you.
Thank you for that. So just before we go into general discussion, does anyone have any questions for staff? Councillor Barron.
Question is, this document is a legislated document from central government. That is the reason why these rates are able to be it's not something we've done here, council. It's a legislative, a central government.
Not exactly, through your worship. Council is required to have a policy on the remission of rates on Māori land. So we are required by law to have a policy. And then that policy obviously needs to reflect the local government, or so the Rating Act, which is referenced in here. And so our policy actually references schedules to that act as a result. So you need to make decisions that are in accordance with the legislation. It's reflected within the policy that we have had to do. So it is a mix of policy we were required to generate, and that policy needs to be in accordance with the legislation.
Wouldn't it also fall under SILNA? South Island. We have to do it for that as well. Further questions? If not, matters open for discussion.
Your worship, it's funny, it's an interesting system, isn't it? But it's a notice of motion put forward by a councillor, and so perhaps that councillor should be speaking to that notice of motion. As opposed to general discussion. Yeah, but like a
So hold on a tick. So only he gets to speak, or then it's open for general discussion.
No, I'm just saying that as the councillor that put it forward,
yeah,
I'm suggesting he should speak to the notice of motion, just as a staff member would, yeah. And then you could have your normal process. So
the offer is there, Councillor Martin, if you wish to take the floor.
Your Honour, yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and thank you to the fellow councillors who supported my revocation motion regarding this matter. As you're aware, I wasn't in attendance on the 9th of May. I was in Wellington fulfilling other duties for local government, but upon my return from Porneki and I read the outcomes, I would just like to point out, and it is in the report that staff presented to you to read, and it's on page 105. Our whenua has never been connected to community services such as water, electricity, refuge collection and roading. So they have got no liability to council. They're half an hour in through native bush on a track in the middle of nowhere. I did listen to the conversations about using the rubbish bin and the toilets on the way to there, but that to me isn't quite, what's the word I'm looking for? It isn't quite substantial enough to substantiate the report. When I go back to what the council decided, a request was made to staff to bring a report back to council specifically about Mary living on Mary land. Well, I thought that the senior rates officer who presented the report at the time did an extremely good job, and they attached this organisation's policy on Mary land. And if you take the time to read it, under remission of rates 1.1, 1.2, and 2, objectives for remission of rates, it clearly states in there this organisation's intention, or this policy, is to promote the retention of Maori freehold land in the hands of its owners, their whānau, their hapu, and to protect the waitapu. So all the information was provided, so I don't understand why the councillors voted in favour or to go back to staff to provide a report that you've already had. And all the information is here, and these landowners are well within their rights to put in for rates remission. Like I say, just because they use the toilet or a rubbish bin on the way to their land, it cannot deny them the right to put in for a rates remission. So hence, it's back on the table, and I'd love you to give it your serious consideration to rethink it. And hopefully you've all read the organisation's policy.
Cool. Thank you for that, Councillor. Matters open for general discussion. Councillor Barron.
Thank you. Councillor Martin. The reason at the time was that not only did they have the use of the toilet, but it was discussed that they had the use of the swimming pool, the libraries and the green space and the cemeteries and everything else that the council have. And that was, I think, the main reason why it was voted against. But I think my question's been answered. But you just mentioned then you hope we vote in favour of it. We cannot vote against it, can we? That's my point. Is it not legislation that it's their right to get rates remission? It's not something we can make a decision on. Am I clear here?
Like I said, if you go and read have you read the policy? Yeah. And under Local Government Act, they have the right not to pay rates.
Yeah, so it's legislated against. It's not something that we even have to debate.
Well, I wouldn't have thought so.
Yeah.
What I will add to that is, if it ever went to litigation, it's not a civil matter. You're going to the Mayoral court on this.
So just to carry on, if an immigrant or a descendant of immigrant come to New Zealand and had land, they cannot apply for a rate remission. This is just an Indigenous right.
This just applies to that block that I know of in the Catlins. There could be hundreds of other blocks in the Catlins that could do this. But this is an area that is identify this. And to add to the conversation, when they logged that particular block for native trees, they paid rates because they were getting an income off it. And they've been continuing to pay rates since then. Now they've realised, well, we can apply for rates remission because they're generating no income. As per the Act, legislated Act, they don't have to.
Yeah.
And so that's why they put in a rates remission.
Thank you.
And for me, it's always been incongruous, our decision the other day, because it left us in an awkward position as council, because we either do a revocation, or if we were to accept the decision, we've got an obligation to go back and change our plan. Because it was our decision was a complete tangent with where we stand as a council. So I just go back to the fundamentals. This has always been something that in our plan they were able to do. They're not making a request that doesn't comply, and I couldn't see any reason why we were to turn it down. And I will be supporting, obviously, support of the notion. So I'll continue with that support.
Your Worship, just to clarify a couple of statements that were made. The issue was, council can still, you have a policy, right? And just like any other policy, council can make any decision they wish to make. So there's no, the way it works doesn't say council must automatically do it this way. The policy says here's criteria, here's things, you assess it and all that side of it. And you can come to a conclusion how you wish to do that. Council did do that. My understanding was that one of the main reasons was there was a house on it, and in the view of a number of councillors, they haven't ever in the past ever approved rate submissions for where a dwelling was on the property. I remember that being quite a big argument and a discussion. I think the issue is that that might have been the case in the past, but the legislation had recently changed to, I don't know, what do I say, the word beef up or, provide additional criteria that should be considered, which is now in the policy and it's within those schedules of the particular act in question. So it was valid to consider it that, a remission could be applied where a dwelling was on there, but council hadn't in the past approved remissions where dwellings were on there. And so when the voting occurred, that's a significant reason why that went through as it was. When I then asked and said, well, if you're going to do that, then there's this question around what your policy says, and that's where the second resolution came in about going back to the policy. But my problem with that one was when I did some homework on it, and I thought, one thing we couldn't do is write a policy that would be in contravention of the legislation. So I wasn't going to bring back a policy that was along the lines of, hey, there's a dwelling on Māori land, therefore you can't get a remission or a rebate. You couldn't say that in a policy because that would be contravening what the Act says. But it doesn't mean that you couldn't make a decision in any particular circumstance that says, in the circumstance that includes that there's a house on there, you aren't going to approve it. So you were always entitled legally to make the decision you made. You're entitled to do that. Doesn't mean to say it wouldn't be legally potentially challenged, but it just means somebody would have to challenge it, like anywhere else, for the grounds. And in the case of Councillor Martin, it doesn't stop Councillor Martin from bringing the matter back to you for further consideration for revocation. But I just want to be clear, we shouldn't say something like, it is automatically approved because legislation says this. It's not an automatic approval and never was an automatic approval. You always have an ability to make a decision, as long as you're fully informed and understand the risks associated with that. So that's my further explanation, hopefully, to what statements have been made.
Further discussion, Timothy. I'm going to take it that if you spoke now for the second time, there's close discussions, John.
Still discussion.
There's no motion.
No motion.
True, then you can do it. But I'll go to Dane and then I'll go to you.
Yeah, so didn't really read the policy, I must admit, on the first time around this came to the table. Went back, made an effort to read it, totally understand that they qualify for 100% rates remission under the policy. Got my head around that, got no issues there. But I'm actually still, I'm still of does not grant, and it's just to me, I just look at this as a pleasure district. We're all citizens of it, we're all ratepayers of it. I'll look at an example of a neighbour that I've got that hasn't been to their dwelling in the last year, used absolutely zero services of that district, paying their rates happily. I just look at it as a fairness side of things. If you're there, you're using your own facility on your own land, but you'll be able to use all the rest of the district's facilities, and out of just pure fairness, I'm just going to still vote the same way this time around, and I just do that out of looking at it through the lens of complete and utter fairness, spreading the costs across the whole district. If you're using our district, you've got a property in our district, you're enjoying our district, therefore you can pay your portion of the enjoyment of our district. Therefore, that's how I'm looking at it in my lens. And I totally accept that the policy does allow rates for remission, but I see it as it's just another holiday crib that can be used, and they will use all our services if they choose to. If they choose to or not, but they can be part of the team and pay their portion.
Councillor Martin, followed by Ludeman.
Through you, Your Worship. So yeah, I'll just refer back to the Local Government Act 2002, Schedule 1, Maori customary land. The land is used for the purposes of a marae, excluding any land used, A, primarily for commercial agricultural activity, or B, as residential accommodation. Land that is set apart under Section 338 of Te Ture Whenua Māori Act 1993, or any corresponding formal provision of that Act, and used for the purposes of a meeting place. That's what their residential accommodation, if you call it residential, it's a patch in the bush. It's their meeting place. So it's all there.
Councillor Ludeman.
I supported the resolution that's come to council today, and I would be supporting 100% remission of Maori land. Look at the policies. What have we got policies for? If we don't, if they're not, how we look at doing things. So I support it.
Thank you. We're starting to exhaust discussion on Councillor Volwela, and then I'll be searching for a resolution, probably from the Councillor Volwela.
Well, I'm happy to move start that. I don't know, do we need to move a resolution that we receive anything here?
So we've got on page 5, we've got the 4 of them, and that's what I was saying. I would probably go to Councillor Martin and take a second from you, just for the simple fact that he moved the notice of motion. But I don't know whether he's ready for it or not. And I'd take all 4. It's either we're in or out, aren't we? Are you all willing to do that, Councillor Martin?
Oh, Councillor Willer's prepared to move something. So we'll do
Okay, so what are you moving, Councillor Willer?
I will move all the 4 recommendations or that have been proposed by Councillor Martin there, that Councillor revokes the resolution 1 in its entirety, that Councillor receives the 100% rates remission on the freehold land Chaslands Highway report. It was tabled at the meeting on the 9th of May. That Council grants 100% rates remission for the property at Chaslands Highway, and that the Council writes off $936.34 for the rating year 23-24, including continued penalties.
Thank you for that. So I'm going to move it. Do I have a second, please? Councillor Martin, discussions? Put to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand and say. Sorry. There is, sorry, Councillor.
Confused here because I only see 3 recommendations.
No,
Yeah, but that's, we're on item 1, they're not recommendations there.
It's not item 1, it's go up.
Yeah, no, I am there, but they're not down as recommendations. They're motions. The recommendations are on page 6.
That's not.
That was,
That's the attachment.
that's
That's
the original meeting, So we're just, as I took it, and please
Oh,
tell me if I'm wrong,
sorry.
I was going to do the 4 there because they're the motions that we moved in submission,
Sorry,
in
my
substitution.
Your worship, just also for the purposes of your decision making, Councillor McAtamaney is there, so technically he can vote. I'm sure he can. You just need to make provision for him to be able to do that. He can't form the quorum, but he can.
I thought that we had that during COVID, and then then you can observe as a councillor being allowed to vote. Can someone help me there too? That's what I thought it was.
Chief Executive's quite right.
You sure?
So the standing orders were amended, and the quorum is very clear that it doesn't form part of the quorum. But if you do have an elected member on Zoom or Teams, they can vote. So, I mean, I can just get that. I've got it here to check. Just remember the page, but I'm pretty sure that's correct.
So Simon, what we're going to do is we will take it, there's a wee bit of discussion as to what your eligibility to vote, but we'll take it that you can vote today. But if we find in the next 10 minutes or so that you can't, we're going to have to go back and do the vote. But the only way I can see we could do it. You okay with that?
Yeah, I thought the rules were that I could not vote in public excluded, but I could vote in a normal council meeting.
Done. I actually thought that a few months after COVID went past, they pulled it back in, but that's fine. So, are we?
They must keep their camera on all the time.
Yes. Not allowed to
Whoa.
I think that's,
Doesn't actually really say anything clearly on the motion.
Yeah, so you have to have your camera on, Simon, so we can see you are there and taking part of the discussion.
Big night, Simon.
Gorgeous.
it's like a Heartland Hotel.
Right. Hold on, Julie's got it here, and are we right
Yeah,
to do?
13.9 in standing orders, member status voting. Where a meeting has a quorum determined by the number physically present, the members attending by electronic link can vote on any matters raised at the meeting.
There you go.
Live and learn. My apologies for that, team. Okay, Simon, welcome in your entirety to the meeting. We're now down to those 4 recommendations. Move Councillor Wheeler, second to Councillor Martin. I think everyone's quite clear what we're voting on, so we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands and say aye.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus Councillor McTammany.
All those against, please raise your hands. Nay.
1, 2, Your Worship.
And
Catherine and Darren. Julie.
And Councillor Graham abstain. Thank you for that. On to our place Tory. Mike. Oh, it's getting very official here now. Welcome, floor's yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this item is to adopt the Our Place Tyree Mouth Community Plan. This is the 10th community plan that's come to council. The first one was about Luther back in August 2017. So this is obviously the 10th and final plan. So it's been quite a program of work to get to this point. So I guess thanks to all the councillors and others who have been involved along the way. Just an update on page 10. There's a section there, financial impact. Just to note that so council did approve 65k for projects, Our Place projects in Tyree Mouth last week. Apart from that, happy to take any questions.
Questions for Mike or any of the staff team? Number 10, we've hit double figures, getting to the finish line. And I will say, Mike, it was I really enjoyed the Tyree Mouth consultation and the process. I think we're getting well used to the streamlined and what we're in to do. And thank you for the team's efforts. If there is no questions for Mike or any of the staff, do we move straight to discussion? If there is no discussion, do we move into recommendations? Councillor Finch.
I just, a wee question, has the tar sealing started yet? Do we know?
Through Your Worship, yeah. Last I heard was that they'd done the prep work on Riverside Road, but the ceiling wasn't down. That was last week.
Right, be too cold. So, discussion team, if not, I've got 3 recommendations in front of me there.
Happy to move.
Happy to move Councillor Finch all 3, seconded by Councillor Bowela.
Happy to second that and saying, I'm not sure it was the last, haven't we got the Brucewood community plan to do yet?
My understanding is that you check the LTP.
It's almost the same as your councillor goes.
Bruce's ward councillors have had 3 goes at it.
Right. On that, that's all silence to say. So we're going to move in a second. All 3 recommendations put to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand and say aye. It's unanimous. We're up to page 58. Thank you, Mike. So rural water schemes, 3 in, 3 out. 1 steps up, page 58. Jules is up here.
I'm happy to take the procedural and happy to take questions on it.
Questions first for staff. Team.
Mine's not really related, but it says there that rural water schemes are committees of council. We had this discussion when Sharon was here a week or 2 ago, when we were talking about our remuneration and putting in for kilometres and whatever. The discussion was then that they're not. My point is, if they're committees of council, are they able to apply for the kilometres and hours coming back and forth to meetings? We were told then that they weren't committees of council. That categorically says they are. It doesn't relate to this item, so I probably shouldn't bring it up. It's just I've got it highlighted on the agenda.
So the answer is you can do anything. Like you can fund anything you want. There's obviously a cost to whatever you fund. A comparable one, which is fair. I mean, you raised the question. It's a valid question. The youth council is a committee of council, and there are reasons why we fund travel expenses for youth. Obviously, there's reasons of getting them here and all this, like that sort of things. But the point would be, to date, that hasn't been the case, right, for rural water schemes. And if you're going down that pathway, you would probably have a bigger debate around the support and funding. There's administrative support questions, all that sort of things. they're just valid questions around that, but to date, it's not to say you can't, but to date, it hasn't been. Thank you.
Further questions, Tim? Councillor Fudge.
So just on page 58, it said, said that to review the governance structures. So there is no other change apart from the name to the way those rural water schemes are run or anything, is there?
There wasn't an intention to do anything other than apply the same methodology and governance modelling to one new committee and the disestablishment of the other committees. That's all that was being proposed.
Yeah, thank you.
As I took it, that imminently in the process of electing a chair and doing all the structure.
Yeah.
Right, we should be pretty well versed with this project. It's something that's certainly consumed a bit of our time this week, that's for sure, but if there's no further questions, discussion open. Councillor Martin.
Through you, Your Worship, I just see on page 60, the consultation, it's obviously the council have done the consultation with these water scheme committees and they're in agreement. So I don't see any issues and we should just carry on with recommendations.
So you're moving in that direction?
Yep.
Thank you. So I'm going to move Councillor Martin of all three recommendations.
Sorry, second.
Who said that? Sorry. Councillor Herbert. Thank you for that. Any discussion, team? If not, put to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Those against, thank you. Righto, we're now,
We're assuming everybody wishes.
oh, sorry.
We've Councillor Kennedy and Baron.
Everyone was right. Sorry, I had my head down and looking.
Just looking, so they're going to call it Balmoral.
Right, so we've got a few more procedural items coming up, so we should be able to work through them. First one is Regulatory and Community Committee, 6th of June.
No.
Council first, sorry, I folded one. Curses. Page all folded, I double folded. So it's my apologies, council confirmation of minutes from the 9th of May. I'm prepared to move them as a true correct record. Is someone willing to second? Councillor Finch, any discussion?
No, just a second, I have to just check. Oh, no, I was on that one, that's okay, sorry, yep, second.
So seconded, any discussion? All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, thank you. This time over to page 75 for Regulatory and Community Committee, 6th of June. Who's bold enough to move them as a true correct? Thank you, Councillor Wheeler, seconded by Councillor Kennedy. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against. Page 80 for Corporate and Policy. Same again, 6th of June. Councillor Lederman moving, seconded by Councillor Phelps. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against. Infrastructure and Strategy on the same day. Councillor Graham, seconded by Councillor Catherwood. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against. On page 88, we're noting the risk and assurance, and I also saw it had me down as deputy chair, where I didn't think was actually, is there a deputy chair or was I acting chair because of the hiatus we're in with the chair? Am I deputy chair or acting chair?
You can be acting chair for that.
I think I'll make that change from that back page. Acting chair seems more what the position is rather than deputy. And I'm happy to note those, move the noting of those, seconded by Councillor Herbert. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against, thank you. Over to West Otago, noting the minutes of the 22nd of May. Move Councillor Kennedy, seconded Councillor Herbert. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against, thank you. Lawrence, same day, same way. Move Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Herbert. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against. Our Youth Council minutes on the 20th of May.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I missed out, I was present.
And 20th of May, was I at that one?
No,
So who can do it? Ken?
I can. I was missed out as an
Oh,
attendee.
sorry, I thought you said
my
you missed
name.
out, and then I'm
Yes,
thinking
so
I
I'm
wasn't
happy to
there.
move up with the inclusion.
Right, so, and I'll second the notings, so move councillor Finch, second South, all those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? And over to my Mayoral report, and I've got to start with some changes, because there's quite a few of them. So on the 14th of June, I did not go to Wellington for the LGNZ symposium, because we had the third day of the LTP. On the 18th, we met with some councillors and scheme chairs, Greenfield Boar. And just so that you note on that one, that from that meeting, it's come about that we are now travelling to Wellington next Monday to verbally present to the submissions on it. And then also MP Mark Patterson has arranged so far for us to meet the next day with Minister Shane Jones, but he is also trying to get Ministers Bishop and Brown and anyone else that we can get in front of. So we're going up just for a general rummage on Tuesday.
Excuse me, you and Steve.
Steve's going to come from Zoom now that it went out to 2 days, and then the first day, real frustratingly, we did everything, and right at the last minute they said, we've changed, we're going to do all verbal submissions by Zoom. So we're going to be in Wellington to Zoom. That's the frustration of the late delay. And I also didn't attend Clyde Promotions, and I didn't facilitate the Job Opportunities Apprentice Support Evening because Eden, who's now temporarily left Job Opportunities, she's over in Europe, but it was her last day. My apologies for so many changes as we get to the end of this. Anna put it together. We were doing the 3 days last week. I never touched base with her. She just had to guess what I'd been going to. And then the only thing in my report was I thought it was a real treat. First time for me, second time for the district to have the citizenship down at Topoma. But I also think it would be really good if we put a general invite out to the public, sort of more welcoming down there. And as a, just a random person might want to come along to see what a citizenship is or to get them. It's our meeting house, and we should make sure that everyone knows that special occasion is something for them. And I'm now going to go around the table for councillors. So what we'll do, Tim, is we'll go right round and then we'll question everyone. So we'll go with kick off with Councillor Catherwood.
Mainly my council responsibilities has been obviously all our submissions. We've been through the verbals, we went through hundreds of writtens. Our long-term plan, it was 3 days here last week. Kaka Point community, local meetings, a local meeting with FENS and Mowaka that want to find some more volunteers. That's been about it, really.
Very done, Councillor Volwela.
Thanks, Your Worship. Let's say apart from the submissions, the LTP plans and regular council meetings, I went to the citizenship ceremony in May, 16th of May. Waihola Looking Forward meeting on last Tuesday night, and this morning I was late because I was meeting with the manager of Councilor of Project Bruce, council-related matter.
Nice, thank you for that, Bruce. Councillor Mann.
Well, as you're aware, I spent 2 days, 9th and 10th of May in Wellington, Te Mata Ratua. Then we've had, since then, I've had Lawrence Chirpy Community Board meetings. I've had the Zoom meeting on the 23rd to meet the co-chairs for the Community Board Executive. Then we've had submission hearings. Then I had an online hui with the Te Mata Atua team. Then we've had our long-term plan hearings, and then we've had our monthly wānga with Te Mata Atua online, and an online hui with the CBEC members. It was quite good actually to meet a lot of the community board members from throughout the country. And, and then just bogged down with the long-term plan decisions like everyone else. It's been good. On the Greenfield Bore Water Scheme meeting.
Thank you for that, John. Councillor Ludeman.
Clutha Development meeting, Telford Bursary, no, I've only kind of got organised to meet with them, so I'm stepping there. Community Awards meeting, Citizenship at Tacoma, the Rec Centre meeting.
Thank you, Ali. Councillor Herbert.
Thank you, Worship. 16th of May, I had another meeting with the concerned people about the trees being planted. That evening we had the citizenship ceremony, which was always great. 5th of this month, a meeting with staff and the affected people at the Kelso Settlement Road. It comes up later today. On the 8th, Councillor Kennedy and I went for a nice big drive down through Councillor Catherwood's patch and checked on everything down there that was up for discussion in the LTP, which was really interesting for us. And then just earlier this week, joined you, Your Worship, with the scheme chairs from Greenfield Bore and Greenfield Project and Zoom with the MP, Mr. Mark Patterson.
Thank you, John. Councillor Grant.
Thank you. Submission hearings on the 23rd and 28th. I also had submission hearings for the RLTP with Regional Transport on the Friday 31st in Dunedin and the Tuesday the 4th in Invercargill. PCG meetings, executive risk assurance, and then 3 days deliberations, community awards, and the rest of the time I've been reading.
Thank you, Bruce. Councillor Finch.
Thank you. On the 20th May, Youth Council, and then there was the Youth Development, and yes, 3 days of your submission hearings, PCG, risk assurance and committees, and on the 10th we had an additional Youth Council workshop on alcohol and how it affects the district, and sorting out Bridge Park fundraiser. Rotary are going to fix the flying fox, and so we're doing fundraisers to put towards that. So there's going to be 2 discos for school-aged children. I can't remember the date. I've got it written down in the diary. I should have written it here. And then there was the 11th, the Clutha Foundation Trust, long-term plan decisions meetings, and the 14th, I had the audit finance risk at the museum, and I had a month with my great niece and great nephew, so that's kept me busy as well as trying to get all my reading done.
Thank you, Gaynor. Councillor McAtamaney.
We had a meeting in Turpingamouth to try and get another community place going, citizenship ceremony. I can't think. And all the other council meetings.
Thank you, Simon. Councillor Phelps.
Thank you, Worship. Citizenship meeting at Tacoma, where we retreated to some nice pavlova. Consultation, hearing, meetings, long-term plan, and a lot of reading like everyone else. About me.
Thank you, Wayne. Councillor Kennedy.
Community board, Clutha House first, meeting with local ratepayer, submissions, hearings, citizenship ceremony, and all the other hearings and decisions we've had to make.
Thank you, Michelle. Councillor Barron.
Yep, council related business. I was invited back to Taylor Park to look at relocation of Taylor Park cabins by a ratepayer, and been involved in rewriting the agreement between the council and the South Otago AMP Society, which come through on my computer today.
Thank you for that, Kevin. Questions, councillors, all and sundry? Councillor Ludeman.
Perhaps ask for a follow-up from the scheme chairs meeting that was with Mark Patterson that's been held. Are you able to update us on where we are with that?
Yes, so firstly we had Councillor Martin, Councillor Herbert, myself, chairs of the scheme, Cotton, Gray, Stephen Jack, Jeff Davidson. Is that it? Just about there. So that was her agenda. Then Mark had to come in on Zoom from Wellington. it was an opportunity for us to probably unload on Mark. We were trying to make it quite clear with the distinct goals of we need to get in front of them. At that point, we thought only for the select committee, but then Mark gave the offer of also he would try and jack up a rural MPs committee. Then it's pretty obvious Minister Jones is going to have some part to play possibly in it. So he's organised that and he's pushing for more. From the water schemes perspective, there was a suggestion that they would like to see some form of support from government. I think while it was quantified, it was, they'll probably go back to their members and get a base. And there was quite a lot of discussion around the precarious situation if there is a run on the water units and where we go with that, the house of cards that's been. And I did suggest, because where do we sit as a council? If we're being forced that we have to go ahead with the scheme, that exposes us to a run that would leave us with $25 million scheme serving Lawrence. We really need the government to underwrite that risk. It's them that have put us in it. But we don't actually have a tactical stance on where we're going other than to go there to support the water schemes and to try and have someone there listen to the ludicrous situation that we're in.
So how many are going to Wellington?
So Roger Cotton, who is chair and spokesperson as such, is going, and myself. Steve was going to go, but when right at the last minute they changed from select committee, and of course you had to appear to the select committee, and then they said, "Let's say we just do it by zone." Excellent. That shows at least one side's going, but by that time we were already committed to going and to seeing Shane Jones, and also trying to take the advantage because Mark can't tie down either Minister Brown or Bishop. They say tea time, breakfast, whatever. So we're just trying to open up the net and jump in wherever we can. It's a bit loose as a goose, but if we can get the chance at any time to be in front of the ministers, and Mark is working with, and I'd say Joe Mooney is also more than well aware now where he's also had a few hours of people in his face over this, so he's well aware, but possibly Jock, also you were there, so what have I missed?
Oh, not much actually, yeah. Pretty good summary.
Can I just chime in then?
Yep.
I was there.
Sorry,
I suppose
you were there as well.
There was kind of two underlying factors really, and the first one being, as Wes alluded to, that whilst we might think we're in control of the situation, we can't. If we opt out of this tender, then we've got uncompliant water schemes. We can't have that either. So we've got this tightrope that we've got to walk. Whilst we think we might be in control, and the second point being that underlying and bubbling away at all of that is Taylor Arrow, whose consents we have to meet. Mm-hmm. So those are the two kind of things I think. And Mark got it fairly loud and clear that one really interesting thing to think of, was particularly on rural water schemes. 45 years ago, you were encouraged and subsidised 50% by the government. Now you're penalised and regulated. Same scheme, Marflat, Mayoral, Richmond, whatever. In the late 70s, early 80s, you were funded dollar for dollar from the government. You had the subsidy and you benefited from that. Now we're penalised and regulated. Two quite distinct scenarios over a 45-year period.
Flip me a line on that, would you? I had to remember that.
Well, I actually think it's a good quote, actually. I'm probably asking the question because I want to see that, okay, you're going to Wellington, but I want to see that you're well prepared for going to Wellington. So I'm asking the question of, I guess, some of the questions you're going to ask on behalf of the rural water schemes in Wellington.
So primarily, because I saw this as chair, I would love to open this up to $600 million problem over the next 10 years. But this specifically is to go to support the water schemes for their 5, is it 25? It's whatever. So it will be in support. I'll be taking my Sunday that I thought I might have been having off to go to Roger Cotton's place to sit down and go through it. You're more than welcome to join.
But I actually.
It was one of those ones, Ali, that what are we going to do? To me, it's pretty well clear cut. We've got bigger all option on the matter. There ain't too much latitude. We're shackled in. Roger's got his ideas that may differ from other share people that have already expressed their ideas. There is I am aware of a letter that has gone to at least one scheme that I know of, bringing up this idea of, hey, what happens if there's a run on the scheme and then you thinking of running, which might just create a problem rather than quantify it. All right, that's their schemes. We've always ceded, or we've always given huge latitude to the schemes for their autonomy of their water schemes. So let's see how the system rolls.
Your Worship, just going along with the councillor's question, is that if, and certainly I've seen emails going around from the water scheme side of things, that an argument that's been presented is, a subsidy from the government to directly for this particular greenfields one coming from the schemes and so I'm fairly sure that that's going to come up potentially, unless it's particularly stopped, that will come up specifically as a solution. But the issue will be around the it's the advocacy to get in front of the ministers around the picture and how do you get support for long-term solutions or solutions, and whether just going for cap in hand for some dollars, does that eliminate, is that your one chance with the government, and does it mean you never have another chance because you've just taken it but nobody's had a chance to have that debate with them, and all that side of it, and I suppose it's difficult because you won't know until you are there around where things are going. But I'd be just a little bit cautious around, hey, you've taken the opportunity to see us and we'll give you this once, but it doesn't help us long term for everything, right?
That's why I said the second part of that was actually the regulatory environment we live in. Mr. Arrowood sitting there.
So there's probably an opening there. Anne's just said to me that because Roger Cotton sent his submission, obviously you got to be in to win. He sent it in, but then he didn't know whether it had been sent right, and then it got lost in the ether. But she's just said they've allowed him to have his 10-minute slot. So if he's going to have a 10-minute slot, and I do know that another chair, Jack, is having another 10-minute slot, and Steve and I, so our emphasis will be possible. We might be more focused on the 600 million over the 10 years while supporting them and their, they've got to throw their bombs and we've got to throw ours.
Well, that's probably important, isn't it, to work out your tactic, so that everyone gets it.
But that relates to the submission, select committee submission. What I was more questioning was what's being said and being asked for if you get in front of the ministers with those same people. And no disrespect to the ministers, but if one or two of the ministers in the past have been shown to make, quick decisions around putting money around as a solution to something, and that became possibly, here you go, this is what you're going to get, then, we've got other schemes that are also, spending. We've got other urban costs that are going to come through. We've got our whole wastewater costs that are going to be an issue. And, the strategic thing was around getting the government and to advocate to the government to be able to sit down with examples like us around what they're proposing in total and how it needs to be amended to be able to reflect and assist councils like us. And so that's all I'm saying is that I think strategically we just got to be a little bit careful. I'd suggest we be a little bit careful. You have to pick it. You're in front. Nobody else is in front. But that's something to be mindful of, that we want to make sure we still have doors open and advocacy open for the bigger picture issues.
So, and also from my perspective, what we get to set the select committee, and then we've got an hour with Minister Jones and anyone else the next day. You want that?
No, well, unless I'm in the room, which I could be, but like Councillor said, you guys need to be preparing that so that you are making sure we don't have doors closed on other
So
aspects.
Roger Cotton will be there, and so will I, definitely, for the second one. And for me, if I know Minister Jones, it's time for that bigger picture.
So
No doubt Roger will be doing the specific greenfield, but I've got a bigger thorn on my side. It's all part of the same thorn, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's my concern, that we make sure we look at the bigger picture and not just, and I accept Roger's definitely there for the greenfield, as you will be as well, but actually, we've got the bigger picture to use our one chance and make sure that the bigger picture is heard.
Yep. Councillor Martin.
Just to add to Councillor Ludeman's concerns there, but we've put us in a pretty good situation when we had the Minister on Zoom the other day, because the water scheme chairs were reiterating the issues that they're facing now and moving into the future. But I pulled out not just the greenfield scheme in the water schemes, but with the decommissioning of the Phoenix Dam, we've got a township now that the local Minister for Rural Communities actually is a ratepayer of. So I put that in front of them. I said, if these farmers put the spade in the ground and say no more, where does that leave us? Which then gives Brian the opportunity to start talking about the regulatory, because the schemes guys touched on it. It's going to be hellish and good water to going down a sheep's and cattle beast in a sheep's throat, the same as a human, but when you've only got supplying a town, what's going to happen? So yeah, it does leave the door ajar for Steve and Brian to go down that journey after the scheme chairs.
For me, it's supporting Roger. Roger's big enough to talk for himself on the scheme, but we've got to get that wider picture across, because it might be the only time I get to talk to Jonesy on it.
Thank you.
Councillor Fudge.
Sorry, just going back to mine. So the Youth District Council are having disco, dress up as your favourite movie character. There's glow sticks, sausage sizzle, fizz lollies and chips, and prize for best dressed. And that is for years 7 and 8, and that is from 5:30 to 7 p.m. on the 2nd of August at Tacoma. And then we're doing a poll for the years 9 to 10 to choose their theme for their social, and they get to vote till the 21st of June, and theirs is from 7 till 9:30. And then in the future, at about, I can't remember whether it's late October or November, we're going for more of a formal theme of likes of a ball for the years 11, 12 and 13. So that'll come along later for more fundraising for Bridge Park fundraiser for the Flying Fox.
Sorry, I'll just get that one. Sorry for the only dealt with.
Thank you.
Simon, make a Timney's.
Simon.
Yeah, just as a follow-up to from the water discussion, it was just mentioned earlier about the talk and people talking about the relinquishing units, etc. As a councillor, we've probably got to put the kibosh on some of that pretty promptly. One, it's not just about the greenfield scheme. Several other water schemes in the next few years are probably looking at a doubling of their water rate in the long-term plan. So we don't want that other schemes and other scheme users to start thinking that that is an option too, to relinquish units just because they don't want to be there anymore because of price. It could cause real chaos. I think we need to shut this down. At the moment, you're connected to the scheme and you're obliged to take them as it stands.
So while we're obliged, as I've recently found out, or while there's a gentleman's agreement, legally you're not obliged. And there's a process that we would have to go through, and that process involves consultation, which could trigger in itself a reaction. So it's not like we're going to be able to just get this done. The exposure that we're at is where we're at, and rectifying it could actually be the catalyst to the. It's not easy.
Yeah, there's work we need to do. It isn't all doom and gloom around that side of things. You have ability and tools at your disposal, for availability charges and things like that. Like when it doesn't mean that just because someone might pull out, we still have a revenue issue that says, a cost issue that says it's got to recover X amount. And we do have tools at our disposal to charge people for things, even if they're not connected. And it's how you build it in. So when people are looking at it and saying simplistically, hey, I'll pull out and that's fine, I'm okay. No, I mean, councils bring into play now when they have land banking, for example. You have tools in your box to be able to deal with land banking, because you can actually, increase rates and charge rates and put availability charges and all these sorts of things, any form you want, onto those blocks. And so they don't get away scot-free from that side of it. So, you can look at it, you do have to look at a bigger picture around, total catchments and how many properties and other bits and pieces. But, the inevitable issue is, here is a cost that's been incurred legitimately for a particular purpose to be charged out in a number of different ways. Currently, 100% of it basically is charged out to the users. But you don't have to charge 100% to users. You've got other tools in the box to be able to charge that same money, right? So it doesn't automatically mean, and that's part of the communication, consultation, and all that side of it, around the perception that people would say, well, I'm okay, because if I get out first, I'm off. Well, not necessarily, because properties within that area, previously connected or not connected, might ended up being part of the bigger pie, so that you can spread the costs associated with that as well. So there's ways in which you can follow due process to do that. I'm sure people can challenge things. So they can challenge things now when you set a rate and things like that. But we need to do the work. What I agree with is that we shouldn't leave it in a vacuum for people to come up with their own thoughts about things or believe in certain things. Yeah, we should do a process. You're going to have to deal with this. Across the board, it applies to just about all schemes, really, around that side of it. We do the homework and we go through the process, and that's we need to get that moving as well.
What a ghastly situation for our council and all councils to be placed in. We're going to make you join, whether it absolutely makes no sense to or not. What a terrible place for all councils to be, and what a terrible place for consumers to be. John?
Just adding to that, and whether I agree or disagree with Steve, because there's a sort of a stick on the carrot, but underlying all that, you've got to remember what we actually charge for. We don't charge for water. We charge for the infrastructure that gets the water to your property. And so whether we have to work out a different way of charging for it, right, it's just the matrix of the way. No, we don't actually, no one in New Zealand pays for water. They pay for the infrastructure to get the water to your property. The way it's divided up, so all we're talking about doing is to find a different way of actually charging for that infrastructure. No one pays for water in this country because no one owns you, but you don't pay. You pay for the infrastructure to get the water to your property. And if that infrastructure is still on the ground, someone's still got to pay for it.
Fun old times. Yep. Any further questions, team? We should be moving on. I've got a recommendation back somewhere.
Happy to move.
Move Councillor Finch, seconded by Councillor Phelps. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against, move over to our CEO's report.
Your worship, just take it as read and happy to answer any questions.
Questions, team? Councillor Finch.
Not per se of your report, Steve, but for the long-term consultation, the makeup of the whole of the council staff, members in each department and that. Excuse me. Can we have a copy of that with each staff member's name attached to it, please?
Yeah, happy to do that to council only. We
Yes.
didn't obviously do that for the public,
No.
but for
Just for-
councillors, there's no harm in having names attached to that. With the proviso that the old story about communications and that, and how we deal with things is that if we gave that out to you, it wouldn't mean that you've got carte blanche to ring
Oh,
any
no.
person on that list.
Definitely not.
We would still ask you to go through the normal
Yes, yeah.
heads
No,
of
just
activity
got
type.
put names to each department and stuff, please.
Absolutely, we can do that.
Thank you.
Further questions, councillors? Councillor
With
Harris.
the addition of the Friday decisions meeting on your list there, Steve, right? 14th, just last Friday.
No, because the week doesn't, I think the thing ends, oh no, you're talking last week. Yeah.
Last Friday, you're at because we had the extra day for decisions.
Yes, before, but the agenda was written.
Yeah, that's what I'm just adding it in.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yes, we did that with you all.
Another day at Coalface, yeah.
So with those changes, got a recommendation on 118. I'll move it. Someone second it, please. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Then we've got documents for consent and seal. Pretty straightforward. Someone happy to do that? Move Councillor Ludman, seconded Councillor Valwela. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against, then help me out here, Julie. I think I go to approval for responses to submitters.
Your worship, just for staff at the back there, you may have come in on the assumption that we were doing the Kelso Road settlement report. We will get hold of you when we're up to that one because we've got a report in front of us which might take some time. And it'll be page by page if you are, your worship. And it's going to go to public excluded as well when we get to it. That's why it's been shifted to the end. So just letting you know, we can always get you again when we're up to it.
I'm picking, we're heading into top gear here. So councillors, any spell check, wordsmith type stuff, send the staff at smoko time and make the word changes. But is there any fundamental changes that you want to make to the responses present, the whole lot of them? Councillor Finch.
Just if any of the ones that came in said about roading and the task ceiling, can every one of those that said about that get the response that said how much it is per K to do that task ceiling? Because some of them have it and some of them don't. And I just think it's really good for those submitters to actually have that.
We able to do that? Seems pretty simple.
The one we would need to check with would be, it was, Jules and Cara has been running this. They understand what actually was asked for. Do you understand what was asked for, Cara?
So from what you've just said, you want anything to do with roading and task ceiling, you want to make sure each and every one of them has how much per K in for task ceiling.
Yes, just for the task ceiling, but requested just task ceiling done, because some of them have a response that says how much it is per K, but some of them don't. And that's lovely, thank you, I appreciate that.
Sorry, Your Worship, I also thought that staff had found some errors, hadn't we, Di or Julie? Did we get that?
Waste.
Sorry?
Waste responses.
And that's not in here, right?
No, but I sent it through email
Yes.
through to council.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
So Councillor Valwela.
I sent through a few alterations.
So that's, yep. And the teams, so nothing fundamental to the comments, just more typos, word change.
It's probably some little additions in places.
Nothing that's going to change the world.
I noticed some of the responses were not in the right, didn't appear to be in the right orders.
Yes.
Of the submissions, but I presume that's been out by staff.
Yeah.
The responses didn't correspond.
Yeah, there were one up and one down.
So we'll note the changes suggested by Councillor Valwela and Councillor Finch. Is there any other questions, additions, changes? Because what I'm trying to do is we just accept them in their entirety. You read through them. I was happy. Yeah, I'm not a wordsmither, I'll admit, but there was nothing there that got the general story over. We've also got to realise the number of submitters and the strain on the staff. And consequently, I was really happy with the responses that articulated our overarching opinions. I'm prepared to move those two recommendations. Is someone prepared to second, please? Councillor Finch. Any further discussion? Put to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Those against?
Oh, okay. Thanks, Your Worship. I just assumed, just like anything else, it was going to take forever on those runs. But it must be, I have to take my hat off then to the quality of the staff wording that meant that we actually didn't have to go through it page by page.
I actually, that what we were articulating, we could all change words, but the general sentiment of the statements, and that was really what I was looking for. So, what's the matter, Julie? What have I done now? Now I've got to. Where am I going?
We need to resolve now to move Councilor Settlement.
Yeah, that's right, it's back there.
To
So,
public exclusion.
Yes, you've got the resolution.
Right, so can we do that with these ones?
Yeah,
Julie will read it out because she's got a separate one, Your Worship. We didn't circulate it because we weren't aware. Julie will find it.
We just, that Councilor Settlement Road, this item be moved to the public excluded session of the meeting as item 1. And the reasons for doing so is that the item now contains additional information with details about private individuals.
And so the idea is that we will be tabling additional information relating to that report that has individuals' information in there that is relevant but shouldn't be discussed in public.
No, that's a separate.
That's all separate, so I've just got to do this. Then we go back and, no, because we've got to move into non-public and then do it. Right, got you. So we have a recommendation that we're going to move that item 2/3, whichever way you look at it, now into public excluded. I'll deal with the whole public excluded in a minute. Move Councillor Finch, seconded by Councillor Herbert. Any questions, discussion? Councillor
I've probably
Luton?
got a question in that we weren't allowed to take additional information for our agenda item last week, and yet we're allowed to take additional information this week.
So the answer is that staff would normally present the report, right? So, and in our presentation of the report, we would be providing an update since the agenda was written, which we can do. But that update includes information that has got private related information to it. That's the only reason why it's public excluded. You'll see it when we talk about it, how it relates to the particular option that we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just raising a point really, because I just feel that last week we stopped. I'm quite happy for it to come through, but I'm saying we're not having continuity here, because last week we stopped additional information coming to the meeting, and yet this week we're allowing it. So I'm just raising that we need some continuity.
Fair point, and I will say that the general way I would go as chair is that I would allow it. I got caught up because I got the email at 8:50 that other day, and I never read it until night time. I thought we were discussing them because Mark Patterson also rang me and said that, no, not Mark Patterson, Joe Manny rang me and said, have you seen the email coming through from Simeon Brown? And I thought we were discussing the email from Simeon Brown, and I'd put that in the whatever basket. So my brain was, I don't care whether it's there or not, because it's not going to make any difference. Whereas when I read the email, it did make a difference. So my apologies for not sort of having that.
No, there is, just in response, there is a difference. There is a clear difference. You are in a quasi-judicial process, having had submissions with that process and hearings with that process complete, where you were in deliberations. You were in deliberations at that time based on that process. So there is an issue associated with submitters providing additional information in that quasi-judicial process. That's the difference. As opposed to, all right, so we have a more flexibility associated with that, where we have late items and there are other bits and pieces sometimes on that side of things. But I do want to make it clear, because I want to be careful Now, I know that was a highly contentious one, but I'm very clear myself. That was a different process that had to follow particular rules because of the submission process you're in. And that differentiates it from anything else where you are dealing with these other sorts of things. Standard reports, standard agenda items, standard standing orders, those things. That was a different process.
So that would be, remember years ago, Jess Seymour came to talk to us on the day of the submission about a submission, and we stopped him but he could come in today and talk about public forum, because it's public forum, so yeah. I've got it now, there is a difference. Righty ho, so what are we doing now, Julie, refresh
So
my
we're
memory?
going to do now the next lot of
Did we do
reasons
the
to-
vote? Did we actually vote?
Actually,
I don't think we voted on that. Are we gonna
Because
do
we're
it?
not
Yeah,
absolutely
Councillor
excluded
Finch
yet.
and Herbert.
Yeah, so we've got Councillor Finch and Herbert just on this one to take it out of there and move it to there. All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. Right, now including,
So we just want to, so that means we're now in public excluded, your worship?
we're about to vote to go in.
Still got the next one to do.
So if we go to page 125, where we're moving the public excluded, which includes Kelso, for the reasons that have been listed and the reasons given for the Kelso one. I'm happy to take all three recommendations. I see if we've got foreign knowledge related what they said about a specific person.
Can I ask a question, please? Am I supposed to, if I'm online, am I supposed to get off?
No, through your worship. It just meant that you can still attend, but it was shown, wasn't it, that public excluded you couldn't vote. I think Councillor Ludeman found that one. Just means you can't vote, but you can participate.
You turn your speaker off, Simon.
Yeah. Okay, so please have it noted that Councillor McAtammany is in attendance. We're now moving to is there a staff member that is required or wanted? I'm not sure.
No, resolution 2 doesn't.
Isn't triggered?
That relates to public, your worship, if you
Oh, I've got you. Got you. Right. So, can someone please move the recommendations that are going to public excluded? All three of them there. Councillor Kennedy, seconded by Councillor Herbert. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? We got there.